today's hearing. If you'd like to submit those materials, please send them to Judiciary Docs, DOCS, all one word, at mail.house.gov. We will distribute them to members and staff as quickly as possible. Finally, I ask all members and witnesses, in person or remotely, to mute their microphones when you're not speaking. This will prevent feedback and technical issues. You, of course, may unmute yourself anytime you seek recognition. Now I'll recognize myself for my opening statement. Throughout his historic life, our former colleague, our former friend, my dear friend and hero, the late John Lewis, often said that the right to vote is the most powerful nonviolent tool we have in a democracy. If we are ever to actualize the true meaning of equality, effective measures such as the Voting Rights Act are still necessary requirements of democracy. John Lewis almost gave his life for the right to vote, as did others. We need to make sure that as legislators, we can do the simple things, and that's pass a Voting Rights Act and move forward. Under my chairmanship, the subcommittee has devoted considerable time and resources to take his call, the call of John Lewis, to defend the right to vote. And we need to act. Both parties need to act. This is a bipartisan issue. As we approach the first anniversary of John's passing, we in Congress must rededicate ourselves to protecting this most fundamental right at a time when it is again under threat, including in his own state of Georgia. And again, I would ask everybody, Democrat, Republican, Independent, John Lewis almost gave his life, was there at the signing of the Voting Rights Act. We need to pass the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Act in his honor and regard for our oath and our duties as defenders of the Constitution. Earlier this year, Georgia enacted a sweeping voter suppression law, SB 202, with little transparency or normal legislative process. SB 202 imposes unnecessary and arbitrary burdens on certain election practices that are disproportionately used by Black voters and other voters of color, including voter ID requirements for absentee ballots and criminal penalties for groups that provide voter assistance. It is for this reason the Department of Justice filed a lawsuit last Friday to challenge that law's legality under the Constitution and under the Voting Rights Act that remains. While much of the subcommittee's work over the last few years has been geared toward revitalizing the Voting Rights Act pre-clearance provision in the wake of the Supreme Court's 2013 decision in Shelby v. Holder, we will focus today on other provisions of the Act that, while not a substitute for pre-clearance, are nonetheless important supplements to it and remain viable, although maybe in need of some additional strength. One consequence of the Shelby County decision is in the absence of pre-clearance, both the Justice Department and private parties have been forced to bring legal challenges to discriminatory voting laws pursuant to Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Section 2 prohibits any state or political subdivision from enacting any